There we go. An ability to handle the ball with one hand is essential to good performance. In one-handed action, you do not grip the ball, but control its balance on the fingers and thumb. Changing from the two-handed to the one-handed grip requires that the fingers be well spread, aiding the control of the ball. To use the one-handed grip successfully, it takes a lot of practice. More of the hand touches the ball than in the two-handed grip, but the ball leaves the hand under direct finger control.
Let's go!
Let's go!
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the DNBA show, or as I should just call tonight's edition, the Nikola Jokic Hypecast.
Yeah!
The perfect crew.
Let's go.
And the perfect special guest for an episode like this. But first, the usuals, the gang. To my right, it's Adam Matas. Adam,
what's up, everybody?
Looking good, man.
What's up, Adam? I'm excited to talk Jokic. It's been a while.
I have no faith in your internet. Like when your excitement goes up, your internet gets worse.
Yeah. It just shows us that Adam's internet is powered off his own sense of self-satisfaction.
That's right.
It's not good.
It's not good.
Below Adam and mocking him as usual, you know him as D-Line Co. I call him Eric.
Yeah, that's right.
That ego.
Yeah, thanks everybody. It's good to mock Adam and be referred to by Brendan.
Low energy from Eric tonight.
I mean, yeah.
There we go. And hopefully the man Harrison Wind can compensate for him. Wind, what's cracking?
What's up, guys? We are presented by Illegal Pete's.
That was a good one.
We have a real air horn now.
Robust.
Well, we don't want the real air horn. Screw it.
And that brings me to tonight's very special guest. Allie, if you can bring him onto the show. We have Mr. Andy Bailey of Bleacher Report, co-host of the Hardwood Knocks podcast, and also covering the Utah Jazz at Forbes. What's up, man? A lot of titles. That's a long introduction.
Yeah. I vote fake air horns personally. I don't.
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't know if there's a running tally on that vote, but that's where
there's not. Okay, there's not. It's again not up for a vote. So.
Oh, okay.
Andy is obviously a fan, and I won't call you an expert unless you want me to, Andy. But he pays close attention to the league at whole. But you might know him on Twitter as one of the Jokic stands that reside. You know, he's not quite in the Nuggets community, but he sort of crosses over into that Venn diagram because of his love for our guy. So, Andy, I hope you brought your hottest Jokic takes, and you're ready to just let it fly tonight, man.
I'm always ready to let it fly when it comes to Jokic. I've certainly caught my fair share of heat for crossing those lines. I think there are a lot of people who still think of me as just like a Jazz guy.
Right.
But I don't know if there's a love in the NBA that surpasses me and Nikola Jokic.
Oh, wow.
You're on the right show, man. You are on the right show.
Really are.
You know what? He is the solo member of a specific Venn diagram, the Nuggets Jazz fans diagram. There's there's only one guy. It's Andy Bailey.
Yeah. We'll defend Gobert, but Jokic is better. Like, how do you reconcile?
I've had that direct question posed to me so many times, Jokic or Gobert, and I've yet to answer it.
We should answer it right now.
All right. Yeah. First of all, coming for my job. Second of all, you have no choice. The floor is yours.
How many Jazz fans are watching this right now? I'm going to go 0.
3, maybe 2.
You think they tune in for us to slander the Jazz?
Yeah, they hate watching. Yeah.
This is a DNVR exclusive.
Yeah, we're going to aggregate this for sure.
The objective answer is definitely Jokic.
Oh man, where's my air horn?
Yeah, where's the air horn?
I thought we were.
So let's check in on the.
You had me on.
Let's check in
thanks
on
for coming on, Andy. It's been real.
Our guest power rankings. We have Keith somewhere down here,
yeah,
and Andy somewhere up here.
That's right. That's right.
So, Andy, we've been talking a lot about Jokic, this group, because Adam's been digging up some old footage. And so I wanted to ask you, when exactly did you have an idea that you were looking at greatness here when you were watching this guy play?
I probably didn't think the word greatness until year 2. And in fact, I wasn't paying super close attention until another Denver-based writer, Adam Frommel, wrote an article about him as a rookie that appeared on Bleacher Report. And, that season, his numbers don't really jump off the screen. They're good, obviously, for a rookie, but 10.7 rebounds, 2.5 assists. But just, seeing what some of the coaches and players were saying about him, the passing ability and stuff like that, that intrigued me. And then he just took off from there. The numbers still look slightly suppressed in year 2, but I think we were starting to get a feel for this guy's going to be a franchise player for Denver. Why are they playing him with Yusuf Nurkic? I remember that being a big thing pretty early on. To me, it was pretty clear pretty quickly that this guy had a ton of talent. It took a lot of other people a while to catch on because he doesn't. This is, not new to you guys. He doesn't pass the eye test for a lot of NBA fans. It's all about skill with him and the way that he uses his body. And I think it just took a long time for people to realize he's good, but in a different way than we're used to.
Yeah. Nikola Jokic is the me of relationships with women, where first off,
all right, I want to see you land this one. Yeah,
initial eye test, not great. Did not pass the initial eye test. I'm not meeting somebody in a bar. I need some time. I need the personality to come out, and then I go from a 3
she needs to know how I play.
4. Yeah, absolutely. But so, congratulations to Nikola Jokic for being the Eric Weedham of basketball.
Do you guys remember that Jokic game against the Spurs? What was it, in his rookie year or his second year?
Well, that was his breakout game. Was his rookie season? Yeah,
it was a game against the Spurs at the end of his rookie year. He had a breakout game. I think Tim Duncan was still playing. But that was the one that I think if you ask a lot of coaches that are currently on the staff right now, they're like, okay, we might really have something here.
Yeah.
That was the one I always remember.
Shades of MPJ. He didn't play a whole lot. Now, this was different because he didn't come in with a lot of hype or anything. In fact, it was kind of a shock that he played at all early on. There was a lot of injuries that kind of led to it. But as the season went on, the injuries piled up and he started to play a lot. And then, as you mentioned, it was December or something that he went into San Antonio. And I think it was 27 points or something. It was a shocking amount of points for a guy that was playing 10 minutes a game at that point.
Were you guys? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Eric.
I was gonna say, were you guys excited about Nikola Jokic early on before even the eye test and seeing his the tales of him being the MVP in the Adriatic League or whatever? I sat with a guy in my office and we would talk about it all the time because he knew all of these weird stats. He was like, oh yeah, this new rookie we got was the MVP. So I kind of had my eye on him the whole time. But it just, again, just like these ladies and my personality, it still took some time.
I think the actual time frame of all of this was that, you mentioned the Spurs game. He started playing more and more, but it was still 20 minutes a night, so it wasn't like he was playing a ton. And by January, February, what it was the conversation was, well, if you look at his per 36 stats, right now he's averaging 8 points, 5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, but it was but that's in 15 minutes. If he played 30, it would be 20 points and this or that. So you had a point. It just wasn't one that you could really stand on. So
he was still kind of at that end of the bench, maybe ace up our sleeve kind of thing, right?
Not he had he had Chanchar vibes. Where you're like, oh man, this is gonna be if this can pan out, it's gonna be pretty.
Or maybe Boban, right? Because if you look at Boban's per 36 minutes, it's 50 points, 25 rebounds, and so it was okay, maybe he's really good. He just needs more minutes, or maybe it's you can't play him more minutes. I mean, there was enough doubt there that half of the internet hated him immediately.
He was also on such a back burner because Emmanuel Mudiay, that was his rookie year as well.
Yep.
And he was the number 7 pick. He was playing 30 plus minutes a game. All the attention was on him. And then you're like, yeah, I know I should be getting excited about Mudiay. He's the first round pick to face the franchise. But then there's this guy Jokic over here. So he was just on the back burner the entire season.
Emmanuel Mudiay, that Brendan Vogt of lady. Coming in hot. Doesn't really pay off.
That hurts. I'm fascinated by this point with Jokic, though, for fans, players, and coaches alike, because it's unconventional greatness. So, I just always, when he was playing in that summer league, how many of his opponents or his teammates went home that night and kind of thought to themselves like, yo, that guy kind of whipped, and how that kind of increased. I know Will Barton has some great quotes about kind of slowly realize it didn't take him that long, but the way it escalated from, okay, this guy's not bad to this guy can play to like, oh shit, this is our best player. But like for DeAndre Ayton, I think we can pinpoint that moment when he got absolutely destroyed. And I'm just curious how he's viewed around the league in that way,
Well, were you at Summer League that year, 2015, Andy?
I don't remember. I've gone to all the Utah ones lately. Denver hasn't been at those, so I haven't. I'll be honest. He really didn't come onto my radar until I read that article in Bleacher Report.
Yeah,
because he's, if you're not plugged into a team, you're not going to pay a ton of attention to the number 41 pick.
Sure,
right. For and especially if it's a guy that's coming over from Europe, you don't really follow the Euro League too much. I certainly didn't 5 years ago or 4 years ago, whatever it was. No, it's even longer than that. He was the 2014 draft, right?
14 draft, but then he came over the following year. Yeah,
so it's been a while. He just wasn't on the radar for me until that, towards the end of the rookie season. And then it was like he just took off like a meteor, at least in my mind. Again, it took everybody else a lot longer to get there. But, I was also thinking about the per 36 thing with him. And I think I still reference his per 75 stats all the time because he doesn't play the same number of minutes that a lot of stars in the past. And with a lot of guys, you cite those per 36 numbers, like, Rodrigue Beaubois as a rookie was going to be incredible because he's
the legend.
And a lot of times you once you get that guy into the bigger role, the production doesn't stay there. With Jokic, it's gotten better.
Right.
Which is just crazy. He just keeps getting better and better. He's he's statistically just ridiculous already to this point. And we kind of mentioned this before we started recording, but at least Adam and I did. There still might be room for him to grow, which is just crazy to think about.
I know. Well, to your point, like in those playoffs, now we saw him playing those real star minutes for the first time. And like you said, he got even better. So I joked with you guys before the show. I almost tweeted today, like, this is right about the time when we go, oh man, he's even better than we thought. Like when we were at Portland, and I don't even know how confident any of us were about them winning this series, but we were in that Airbnb just realizing that Jokic had reached another level.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more exciting as a Nuggets fan than wondering if he can find another one. So I thought it'd be a lot of fun tonight, guys, if we did kind of like just a hot take kind of spin cycle here. So we'll take turns kind of dishing out a Jokic take. The rest of us, one by one, will rate this 1 through 10, 1 being cold, 10 being hot. And then after, you're going to let us know if you can actually get on board with this hot take. So don't be shy. Let them fly, guys. Andy, if you're ready, we can start with you, unless I just threw you under the bus.
Don't be shy, let them fly is a good rhyme.
Thank you.
That's the first hot take.
I'm going to cheat a little bit. I think I'm going to steal one from the hype tweet that I'm actually going to push it a little bit further. So I'm not stealing it. The hype tweet says he has top 20 all-time potential. I'm like second guessing myself right now before I even say it. Can we say top 10 to 15 all time?
Wow.
Potential.
That's all time.
Potential.
The guy's
first of all 10. This is a 10. I don't have to hear you out just to give the ranking. It's a 10.
You guys know what he currently ranks on the box plus minus career leaderboard?
Of course we do. You're sure?
Yeah, I had it somewhere. I think I left it in my other jeans.
So this is the crap that I bring to podcasts.
And that means what again?
Box plus minus. So think about baseball has wins above replacement. Box plus minus is like the per game version of that. So here's the top. We'll do top 7 all time in box plus minus. Michael Jordan, number 1.
Seems right.
Okay.
LeBron
checks out.
LeBron James, number 2.
Okay.
With you?
We're on track. This one's going to surprise you. Chris Paul, number 3.
Oh, wow. That does surprise me.
Get him to Denver.
Magic Johnson, number 4. Back on track.
Okay.
All right.
David Robinson at 5.
Okay. All right.
Wow,
Nikola Jokic at number 6.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Whoa.
That's nuts.
Larry-
That's absolutely nuts.
We're
Larry
just starting
Bird
with
at
a
number
10.
7.
Wow.
So he slots in right ahead of Larry Bird. Here's
Well, that
his
makes sense. He's just a taller Larry Bird. So he
7 foot
would,
Larry Bird. That's
Yeah.
what I tell my dad every day. 22 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists per 75 possessions. I don't think people realize how crazy that is.
Yeah,
That sort of well-rounded production on top of like the skill level and the flair that he displays when you just watch him play. I honestly don't think many people outside the Denver fan base understand like how close to how good this guy is.
I would say, yeah, including in the city of Denver.
yeah.
Well, you guys would know that better than me, but so I'm gonna stick with it. I think it's a super hot take, but I don't know, top 10 to 15.
Okay. How
right.
hot is this take? Because I said it's a 10.
All right, wind. We'll start with you. If you're with us, you might be frozen.
Oh,
I've
he
got-
is.
He's gone with the
Commentator's
wind.
curse.
I broke him.
Gone with the wind.
Adam, to my right.
10. That's a
10.
10.
But Adam, can you get with it?
Yes, I can get with it.
Ah.
Look, I am not predicting this to happen, but I've said all along, it's the question. Once you get to a certain level of talent, the question is no longer about how talented you are. It's like all the other stuff, like how you put it together mentally, your drive, all of those things. So that's the big question. But from a talent perspective, I'm 100% with Andy. This guy is so much more talented and skilled and impactful than people realize. And so I can get with it, even if I think it's crazy.
Yeah, but Keith's out of his mind. Buckets, so there's that. Yeah,
So-
I go ahead, Wind.
I was just going to say ESPN just rated Shaq as their 10th best player ever. So that's the bridge.
I think that's a little bit low, but I'm sure you guys have seen my blind polls. I think I've done some Shaq versus Jokic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're
Well, I
probably-
mean, of course, but you need the championships and whatnot. You need, you need the
for
playoff
sure.
success.
Yeah, so I'm gonna also give that a 10. I can get with 15 though. I can get with it. I moved to Denver and I was like, yo, this is gonna be one of the best players of all time. I was certain, and I got in an Uber and my driver was like, he can't jump, man. I can't see him in an all-star game. Can't jump, can't block a shot. He was right about he can't jump. Yeah, so it's hot, but I'm with it, man. What is the ceiling on this boy? I can't see it.
I think that's also what made his rise so hard to believe going back to his rookie and sophomore year too. Because we were talking about his lack of athleticism and stuff, but not really knowing that he could still be just even a game-changing defender without it. You just hadn't seen that before, really.
Oh, he would have been so good in that era when everyone was still just smoking cigars and eating hot dogs. He would have destroyed people.
He might have been like 400 pounds in that era.
He would have mainly destroyed them in eating hot dogs and smoking cigars, though. He would have been his purr.
Well, one thing that's funny because we were talking just kind of casually as we were setting up the show. We were trying to name the players in the NBA that are no questions asked better than Jokic right now. Like not you can make an argument for, but just no questions. And we came up with a list of them. But one of the things when we got to Steph Curry, who again I think is better than Jokic, it's just you could maybe make an argument. You can't make one for LeBron. LeBron's better. Let's not do it. But the thing I was thinking about with Curry was that Curry really did, and this is not a knock against him. I think Curry is fantastic. I think he's an incredible. I have him higher than most people, but he did have the perfect sort of cast around him, the perfect system, the perfect environment, and I always think if Jokic had that, if Jokic had the perfect players around him who also, by the way, happened to be underrated because they weren't marquee college names. They just like Draymond Green, who was really good, but nobody saw it coming. If he had that, I think Jokic would average a triple-double. If you had a system built around him with elite shooters who all deferred to him, he would. There's no question in my mind. He's already only 2 assists away from that.
Or if he's in a system that just gave him even more playmaking. I know he runs tons of stuff for Denver, but there are still times where I think, why isn't Jokic controlling this possession?
Right.
I think there are coaches who play him at a higher pace, and I'm with you, Adam. I don't know if that's your hot take, but I'm with that one.
Well, we started the segment with the hottest possible take. I was going to test the waters with
Where do we
that
go from
center
here?
in the league, maybe. But I think we all know where they're. Adam, you gave me a good segue into mine, though, if you guys don't mind. I have 5 guys that I will not make an argument for that are better than him definitively, but it stops there. It's LeBron, Kawhi, Giannis, KD, and I have Steph. I do have Steph.
Okay.
Are we sure about KD now, though?
Yeah.
Until he comes back and is not that guy, I think you give it to him.
Yes, we
Yeah,
are.
I hold the same. I'm also not sure, but I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt to Kevin Durant.
I'm just so worried about Achilles injuries.
I know.
Yeah, Achilles injuries are.
I'm really worried about him, but I also have this thought in the back of my mind: like, what if Kevin Durant's the first guy to come back from an Achilles and he's just fine? Like, I could kind of see that, to be honest.
Kobe did it.
Well,
Do
he
any
was
of you
never
have
changed.
Did I miss a name? Is that list too long?
Well, like, so then you have like James Harden.
That's what I mean.
And these are guys that I think are better than Jokic. It's just that you can make an argument or this or that or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, who else would be on that list?
I think the only. I mean, I know I already came out guns blazing, but I think the only ones that are just definitive, no questions asked, might be Giannis and LeBron right now.
Good Lord. Wow. No, dude, where
Told you he was high on Jokic, guys.
Wow.
I love it. Though. It's
Where did he finish in MVP voting last year?
Well, I like that you're asking this now. It might appear later on. He came in fourth.
We couldn't.
He was fourth. He should have been third, though. He should have been third.
Which is kind of crazy, man. Like, no matter how you slice it, like, wow, all the guys in the league, he was fourth.
And he was 24 last year. Yeah,
and that's the votes that did come in, right? Let alone maybe the ones that should have. I don't know if that's too hot, but I don't know. That's crazy.
Look at that comment. I love it. Kevin Durant's going to hop in this. Yeah. Like right now. Just fine.
Yeah, I think a couple of players people would potentially argue are better than Nikola Jokic right now. Anthony Davis, who I don't think is better.
Wow.
But I think people would bring him to the conversation.
That's a tough one. Tough one to argue. I think, like, if I'm LeBron, give me Anthony Davis. I'm supremely confident we're winning a title. But if I'm a GM and I don't have a team yet, I probably think I want Jokic first.
There's no question, in my opinion.
Jokic might fit LeBron a little bit better than Jokic too, because they're Jokic and LeBron both need the ball.
Man, this is
true.
I hope no Lakers fans are. This is so.
All right, here's what'll fuel to that fire. I did the Jokic Davis blind poll in February, and 82% of us voted for Jokic.
Love it. Love it.
To 18.
Love it.
I don't know. We don't have to rate mine. I don't know. How are you feeling about the ratings? Let's do some live producing. We're gonna keep doing that, or just go in a circle.
I think we go to break real quick. Let Win take a. Let's see if Win doesn't freeze.
Don't choke Harrison.
My internet's already gone out once. Knock on wood. Guys, Breck Brewery needs our help in these times. The farmhouse is still kicking, so order up some dinner, order up some lunch from the Breck Brew Farmhouse if you're looking to switch it up from a home cooked meal. And you guys can get $5 off when you use the code DNVR. Tons of awesome stuff.
Just do
at
it.
The Breck Brew Farmhouse. So
just do it.
Something for everybody there. Also, guys, I want to check in on our DraftKings bet of the week from last night, because my bet was on the Twins covering 1.5 runs. They won, but did not cover. They won by 1 run.
Oh, crap. I forgot. I also took the line, didn't I?
I like that your credibility is going to be slowly chipped away by your ABO bets.
I feel like we might be good for the money lines, but not for the spread. Because, Adam, you had the Dinos minus 1.5 runs. They also won by 1.
You know what analysis? What happened, guys? Like,
I'm going to pick myself here, because if you remember, I should have said that I was just taking the money line, because I told you they've won by 1 point 3 games in a row. Now 4. That's why
it's 1 run, but yeah.
I was going to say
1 point. I mean, my baseball.
Wow, Adam. Wow.
All right. Well, specify yourself next time. But you guys, if you're not involved with DraftKings, get on board. We're all throwing down some money on DraftKings Sportsbook. Betting is now legal, of course, in Colorado. And make sure you use promo code DNVR when you sign up. Eric, did you have something, Eric?
I'm laughing at this comment from does anyone here like potato chips?
It's a great question. It's a really good one.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, we brought you on here tonight, so I guess the floor is yours, dude. Potato chips, yes or no?
I love potato chips.
Oh, good, great.
I'm currently trying to attempt this intermittent fasting.
Hey, me too.
Oh yeah, same actually.
So I'm in my no eating window. If I hear about food, that's problematic for me.
No adults are allowed to admit to liking junk food without having to reference some sort
I
of
know.
diet or you should be like,
Well, usually diet, but
yeah. You talk to me. I'm like, I like jelly beans, and but only if I follow them with potato chips.
Before we move on, I have to tie a bow on DraftKings here.
Seriously,
Contractually obligated to read this next part.
putting the music back on.
Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. Bonuses comprised of first deposit bonus and a first bet match, each up to $500. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
About time, Win. Jeez. My God.
It feels so much better to taunt the person doing the reads versus
It is.
being taunted.
I want some more hot takes, though. Let's keep going.
yeah.
Let's get spicier.
All right, where were we? Wind, hit us with something, dude. Hit us with a hot take.
Okay, my hot take is going to be that Nikola Jokic will go down as the best international player of all time.
Oh,
Wow. All right.
We've already
Dallas
established
Mavericks
it's
fans,
true, since he's going to be the 5th best player of all time.
So I feel like is Hakeem Olajuwon, is he the best international player of all time, or do we consider him American? I don't know. But it's probably either Hakeem or Dirk, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the list. Tim Duncan is Virgin Islands, which counts.
Dallas has a monopoly on this. It's Dirk. If Luka doesn't come for that spot as well.
But I mean, Dirk won 1 championship. Hakeem has 2. Like, I feel like Jokic can get there, you know?
It's funny, man. The center position, centers often get the label of like underachieving or lazy, especially European players will get the like soft label because Dream was called lazy. I mean, that was one of the things about him is that he was actually better than he showed, but that's because he coasted. So it's kind of a funny thing. Like if we're
Moral of the story, kids. Coast.
But I'm serious. If we're talking about Jokic and we're talking about him as this historic great, we're also admitting that we've seen Jokic's best, and it doesn't happen every night. Like that's just the fact of life. He doesn't have that thing where every night he's got at 100.
I think what Adam was saying earlier holds true, that Jokic hasn't been surrounded like by the optimal talent. I was just looking at the shooters he's been surrounded by. Like the most shooters he's probably ever been surrounded by was in 2017. He had Gallo and a 42% from 3 Gary Harris. But other than that, like you don't think of a ton of shooters, just true knockdown guys that he's been surrounded by.
Yeah.
He has guys that I always look at and think they should be better shooters.
Definitely. You
Jamal
can say
Murray.
that about a lot of Nuggets guys, yeah.
can relate to that.
Jamal Murray, his stroke looks so good. He just like I thought that I watched that guy play. I think that should be a 40% 3-point shooter. I think the same thing with Gary Harris. Like you said in 2017, he did shoot that well. But you're right. I think if he was surrounded with more shooting, that would certainly help. Hopefully MPJ seizes that role soon because I think he can maintain that level of shooting he's shown so far.
What's your take on MPJ?
I like him a lot. I this is the second situation in the last few years where I feel like I'm kind of screaming internally at Mike Malone, play this guy. It was the same thing with Nikola Jokic a few years ago. And credit to Mike Malone, because at this point he has essentially turned the team over to Jokic. And I think that takes a leap of faith to do something with a center that really no one else has ever done. So credit him there, but and maybe he'll be right eventually with Porter Jr. too, and maybe he needed to be brought along slowly. But from the bits and pieces that I've seen this season, that guy's ready to make an impact. And I think he fits with Jokic so well.
Yeah,
so I think you need to play them together more often to see how that works and sort of foster that chemistry between them.
I don't want to pull away too, but we can sort of tie these things together, MPJ and Jokic. There's a good question from YouTube here, Ish. He says, how do you feel about a coaching change to unlock Jokic's offense? I was just thinking about what you were saying in terms of optimizing him. And, for this exercise, there can even be a distinction between what's the best way to run this Nuggets team and what's the best way to get the most out of Jokic statistically, offensively. There's probably more, right? There are probably a handful of coaches who could is it fair to say this should be a top 5 offense in the league?
I mean, I think they're 6, so I think they're pretty close.
Sure, well, all right, fair enough. But
Yeah, and they probably would have been last year if they didn't have historic injuries just mounting up throughout the entire year.
Yeah. Go ahead.
well,
I
Andy,
think
to
they
you.
should be like, as long as Jokic is on the floor, that should be a top 1 to 3 offense. I really do.
Yeah.
Believe that. And maybe it is a lot about supporting cast, which we've already said. And maybe a coaching change doesn't necessarily mean you got to fire Mike Malone. Maybe you need another offensive guru in there. Who was the guy they lost? Finch.
Finch,
That's
yeah.
exactly what I was thinking. Somebody in there who's just sort of an offensive savant who can take over that side of the ball, because there's obviously a lot of great things we can point to that Mike Malone's done over the years. So unlocking the offense doesn't necessarily mean moving on from him.
And here's an interesting question, because we still had 2 months left in the regular season, and MPJ coming off 2 years of injury. It's entirely possible that Michael Malone's master plan was always to slow play him into the rotation. And it might have been his master plan that after the All-Star break, he would, reset expectations and be like, you got to re-earn it or whatever. I mean, if the season didn't end and Michael Porter ended up playing 20 minutes a game starting when the season ended all the way through the rest of the year, I wonder if we would look at this and all be like, oh, it all makes sense now. He was so smart the way he played this. And I think that's at least a real possibility. Gun to my head, I wouldn't have predicted that's what happened. I think he was benched because Michael Malone was sick of him making mistakes. But maybe it was all part of a master plan and we just didn't get to see it. So now we're left with this, feels a little bit like a lost opportunity to play him more.
A big opportunity. That's the season. The season is just lost opportunity and not getting the big picture. And I mean, it's funny too, because we still can't officially say the season ended.
I know.
When the season paused is where we're at currently.
No.
Eric, do you have any hot takes?
I do. What do you? Who? First off, who are you talking about?
Yeah, that's right. I should have reframed that.
Yeah, do I have any reasonable takes
That you'd like to share with the group?
So here's my hot take. I think Jokic might be the most skilled player to ever play NBA basketball.
Yeah, that's a hot take.
And because
scorching hot.
Because if you cross-reference what he's able to do with his athleticism, like the heights he's able to reach with zero athleticism, the ability, like his skill level is so great that it can bring him up to that top level. But the second half of this hot take is that his personality will never allow him to reach his full potential.
Oh, this is a bummer hot take.
Yeah,
really
this is a cold water take.
All right, so moving right along from Eric. Look at the change. That's so good.
That was incredible producing. Wow.
Yeah, I give that a 10. The most skilled player ever.
Andy, you got another one in the chamber?
Oh, man.
He's more skilled than Nikola. Like, just skilled. Like, skill meaning that you can affect the ball to go exactly where you want it to without just being able to blow past.
No, I'm familiar with the concept of skill. I'm just
you're not the only people listening right now. You're not the only people listening.
There's been other athletic players, or unathletic players that can, I don't know, Larry Bird, Chris Paul. I mean, Chris Paul's only 6 feet tall. He's really talented.
Kobe Bryant was incredibly skilled.
Pistol Pete Maravich. How about that pick?
Well, I mean,
I don't know. All those
the
players
guy that they're doing the
athleticism.
10-part documentary on was pretty skilled.
Yeah, but he also had the gift of athleticism. Like he didn't Nikola only has skill. He has no athleticism.
The most skilled unathletic player.
Like if you gave Nikola Jokic Michael Jordan's body, it would be, you know what I mean? Like it would be the most.
Eric. Yes, you're right.
Well, why is this so insane to you? I don't understand.
I mean, if Steph Curry was as tall as Manute Bol, imagine how good he would be.
If Shaq had Steph's 3.
We basically just did that for Bleacher Report a couple weeks ago, where we drafted like aspects of different players. I had like David Robinson's body, John Stockton's playmaking. It was all 90s players. So I think I had like Glenn Rice's jumper. It was quite the exercise.
You should make them on 2K now. Just frame design monsters.
Noah Vonleh's backside.
Great pick.
I don't think that was draftable. I feel like I technically have to be on board with Eric's if I said he's got top 10 potential.
I guess
do you have to be on board with that? Yes, I think we all agree that's a 10.
Yeah, but I got someone on board, and there's nothing I love better than bringing these perspectives from other rival teams that can't deny the Nuggets and Jokic. Andy, I want you on every night. You're on every night.
I like this take that we have from Beastin25 about that Jokic is a better athlete than anyone realizes. And honestly, it's true.
Yeah.
The thing is, we define athleticism really just by how high you jump. That's like how fast you run. There's only two like variables in this. But Jokic is a really good quick jumper.
Yep.
And I know that sounds dumb, like a made up athleticism, but it's not. Like, it's really valuable in basketball to get off your feet quickly, and he just does that a lot. That's how he does it. He tips it once. And then everybody comes down and he jumps again and gets it.
His arms are also like much taller than he starts by just being able to outreach everybody, and then his jump is not quick. Zion Williamson has a very quick jump.
No, you're wrong about this.
Jokic generates a lot of force off his second jumps when he goes up.
No. Here's how I'm going to break you down, Eric. P2 actually did a study like this where they actually test this skill, and he rated off the charts for it. So it's actually a measurably good thing that he does.
I'll get on my P2
or P3
for the record.
P3. Well, that used to be P2.
Oscar Mayer product. Has,
I think you could say that he checks every athleticism box except for the
speed and jumping.
Right.
Because he's strong. Yeah.
Vertical explosion, but he's got great balance, great coordination, vision. I don't know if vision plays into athleticism, but
hand-eye coordination.
Ish again with the quick hands, all those paint steals he generates. And stamina, as Cracker Jack pointed out, the Portland series is
quick movement. I don't think of as athletic. That's not like athletic movement. Like, I think of athletic as being like being able to harness like not only quick but also power, also body control.
But he harnesses power really well.
So are you on here saying that you see Nikola Jokic as an elite athlete?
I mean, yes, in a very narrowly defined way. That's all I'm saying. Like, traditionally, we talk about athleticism in the way you're describing, and no, he's not. He's actually super unathletic in terms of running and jumping, but he's really good at these other things that are, in my opinion, athleticism. They're just not like you don't get to like show off your quick jump ability in day-to-day life.
But if you're trying to figure out like how does the guy that looked like that dominate if he's so slow and can't jump? Well, there's your answers, because he also has phenomenal hand-eye coordination, speed, all
that's
that.
The hand-eye coordination is where it like really comes to play for him. It's like I've referenced this a lot, but I saw an interview with him where he was just talking about the ball goes wherever he wants it to go. Like,
he's just one of those
able
people.
through his eye-hand coordination
without thinking, just
affect the ball to be able to guide it wherever it needs to be. Like,
and in fact, as some of this regular season suggested, maybe it's best when he's not thinking. Like, I wonder if he's just such a feel rhythm guy. I don't mean that to be a knock. I mean,
do we think he's going to win an MVP? Do we think that happens?
Yeah. So that was my hot take. Is I have Jokic getting an MVP, and I was curious if you guys thought that was too hot. I mean, it's really a question of, when do other players like kind of primes, I think, fizzle out with like some of the guys we talked about, like LeBron and KD. Like, I don't think Giannis will win every year. So can Jokic sneak a year in there in between a Luka or
I've always said for Jokic to win the MVP, like the Nuggets have to absolutely win the West, and they would probably have to win the West going away. They'd probably have to win the West by like 5 games or so. It'd have to be like a huge thing.
But that take like assumes that the MVP award is purely merit based.
But for the Nuggets, it is though. That's the thing. If it was the Lakers, it'd be different.
For the Nuggets, it has to be like tenfold above. Like, he would have to be so insanely dominant to win the MVP.
But think about this: he already came in 4th. I mean, that to me is actually reflective of more acceptance in the minds of voters than we might.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
He just won first team All NBA. He's probably going to be first team All NBA this season, I would think. And do we think that this Nuggets team, maybe like a few tweaks here and there, can they get to 60 wins?
Yeah, of course.
Definitely.
I think this is a team that can win 60 games. And if they win 60 or like low 60s and they win the West, and Jokic averages 23, 12, and 8
on the table.
I'd say he can. But I do think all the points everybody else has made are true. It's from a narrative standpoint, it's just more difficult for guys from places like Denver and Salt Lake City and Milwaukee. Usually they just happen to have an alien on their team right now.
And you know what? Jokic was an awesome value bet if you were looking at the lines coming into this season. And then what was the early lesson we learned? Jokic doesn't give a shit about MVP.
That's the you'd have to care about the
MVP.
MVP.
The first month of the season matter, yes, in MVP voting, and he
if
doesn't.
James Harden's carrying is right here, and Jokic is right here. Like they both need to be about right here.
Harden would rather win MVP than a ring. I'm like, honestly, kind of
like so. Giannis is probably could win this second straight, right? Or is probably going to win a second straight. No way, Giannis wins 3 straight, right? Like in this day and age. Are we going to vote him as the MVP for a 3rd straight year?
That's true. There's like voter fatigue.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Yeah,
we didn't really do it. And fatigue came into play for guys like MJ and LeBron. So you're right, Harrison. It has to come into play. For Giannis at some point.
We've literally never seen anyone do what Giannis does.
That's true.
So I guess
true. Very true.
Who's going to break that mold? Maybe it's him. But I tend to agree with you, Harrison. Like the media doesn't like to give people awards 3 years in a row. That's just all there is to it.
I'm curious, Andy, what you think Jokic can do to get better. Because we mentioned that he's maybe close to his prime, close to his peak, I guess, and it's just about sustaining here. But what do you see as the areas for improvement that he can actually attain?
I think there are a few. I actually put some thought into this before we started recording because you kind of prepped me for it. Shooting, I think more consistent shooting is a big thing. He's another guy like Jamal Murray and Gary Harris, who I think should just be a better shooter when I watch him play. I think this season, I don't actually know what he's at, but maybe around 33%.
Something like that.
He had the one season where he shot 40. I think it was 2016-17 where he shot, let me see.
I think it was like right under 40, 39 or so.
The thing about that season was that the rhythm was so good. The offensive rhythm that year was phenomenal. I've always said his shooting is like pretty rhythm dependent.
Yeah.
He doesn't like shooting shots when the offensive possession sucked. And he's just, F this possession.
I think that's true. So he shot 39.6% in 2017-18. So I was 1 year off. But I think in one of those years, he also shot like 60% from the long 2 range. We know about his touch in that like 3 to 5 foot floater zone. And he's had crazy percentages in each of those zones, but in different years. Like if he puts that all together in one season, I know that's like a hyper specific thing to think about. But his efficiency is just absurd at that point if he figures out that level of consistency. And then consistency is a big one too, just generally speaking. You mentioned it earlier, Adam. You don't get 100% Jokic night in, night out. And I don't know if you can change that. I don't know if the solution there is maybe eventually you get him to a point where you get 95% Jokic every night. That's still an incredible player.
I think we got that. It wasn't every night, but we got it for 3 months straight or 2 months straight this year. I mean, it really was December, January, February where Jokic was like giving it all. The start of the year, who knows what happened? He was way overweight. He seemed depressed. After the All-Star break, he kind of went back into that funk, but it was only for like 8 games before the season got canceled. I don't know. Like that's better than before. That's all I'll say is we saw a little bit more consistency from him in that regard.
And also, I mean, just the lengths he went to refuse to lose around that stretch of time this season was like almost more than makes up. I mean, maybe not in MVP voting or whatever, but more than makes up for the weeks he might take off was when he looks around and goes, oh, my team needs me. He takes Vlatko Čančar to a win in Utah. So it's just – he has that. I'm convinced that he has a switch. There's really no doubt.
Here's another thing about it I've been thinking about with this Michael Jordan doc, and we've been talking about whether the virtues of his, killer instinct or whatever a lot. But I think one way to phrase it is that MJ, for a short period of time, not his whole career, certainly not the Wizards eras, but it seemed like he was able to harness it in a productive way, who he was in a productive way. And I think that's the real way to phrase this for Jokic. He has certain personality tics that sometimes he harnesses in an incredible way. We all see when he gets pissed off and he goes out there to make a point or does this or that. I think the things that right now frustrate us about Jokic are things that he can sort of better understand about himself and control and turn them into positives rather than negatives. I mean, the backcourt foul is a perfect example of this. Like he loses his temper and just like slaps a guy. It's like, take that frustration, but harness it in a way that's going to be more productive. And once he figures that out, I do think you get another level.
You know, I feel like I want to see Jokic like really, really care about winning, like really deeply care about winning, where like it affects his, like he can't sleep if they lose, like he can't, you know what I mean? Like these things where that like internal discomfort we were discussing I don't believe exists in Jokic at all. Like that's that thing where he requires the motivation and he has it, but it's not intrinsic. It doesn't come out unless like you can make him really angry. He's got like deep passion that you can tap into, but he doesn't oftentimes on his own apply that to his own actions.
You know what, though? It's funny. I generally agree with you, but if you talk to Juancho and then Vlatko, they insist that we underrate this aspect of him. And I think one of the best questions,
best friends too. Like,
TJ McBride asked him at an exit interview. Jokic said something like losing doesn't really bother him that much. It doesn't really motivate him. So TJ said, well, what does? And he kind of struggled to answer the question. I think what Jokic was trying to say is he's more process-oriented than result-oriented, right?
Right.
He's obsessed with the idea of trying to get better and collectively trying to get better. But I don't know if he's ever going to go home and pull his covers over his head at night because they lost the game.
That's what I want. I want him to pull those covers over his head. Do we need him getting more like comfortable covers? Like what? How do we do this?
It seems like a good natural spot to take a break. Win. You ready? This is your moment to shine, baby.
Oh, is it?
Don't you?
This is
So this weekend, the second WGT DNVR event.
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
I'm psyched for this.
And you got to download the WGT Golf app. It's a great waste of time.
Yeah.
I'm addicted.
Best waste of time.
So we are calling it the Tahopen.
The Tahopen.
The Tahopen.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was going to text you guys about that.
A pin challenge on the Edgewood Tahoe course on WGT Golf. If you're not in the DNVR Country Club, what are you waiting for? Download WGT from DNVRGolf.com. Join up on the DNVR Country Club and get in that tournament this weekend.
And Harrison's reign of terror.
Yeah, you can try to be the defending champion. Very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, I wonder why. Unbelievable.
So my power went out last night for 2 hours, which, by the way, when you've been home for 2 months already and then your power goes out, just there's nothing left to do but cry. Except my phone was fully charged and I had WGT.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how I would – WGT hired me for marketing. You guys should really try to hit that angle hard. If your power goes out,
just take out everybody's power.
We're here for you.
Do it. Also, guys, you can still get Strava Craft coffee for 20% off when you use the code DNVR20.
I've got another story.
Craft coffee.
Got another story. I got it. Sorry, Harrison. Lindsay, I've been trying to get Lindsay to send me Strava Craft coffee for like a month. Like I need this stuff, and she sent me unground whole beans. And you know what? I'll say. I don't have. I have a Keurig, man. I need the K cup. So, Lindsay, if you're listening, if you're checking out this read,
you know what? Is that what this turned into? Beans. It's no big deal. I'll make.
All right, I need this stuff.
You just turned this ad read into a plea because you didn't get the right free coffee.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a company man. I want my K cups.
I think what that story shows, though, is you can get Strava Craft coffee in a number of ways. Ground, and K cups.
Wow.
However you want.
Man, that's why you're the pitch,
Unbelievable.
man. We do have a contestant for the steps, though.
Is it Nikola Jokic?
I wish.
No, not okay.
Who is it?
Well, I only said that.
Hey.
How's it going, guys?
Who's this guy?
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
sorry, I'm not Jokic.
Don't sell yourself short. You're not. I mean, you're not Jokic. That's true.
Strong agree on this one, Harrison. Professional.
Yeah, it's really hard to do when you're getting berated. Cade,
It's actually not that hard, to be honest.
Yeah. And if you want to cross-reference professionalism, obviously I'm to the right of flanking Harrison, but Vote's shirt is plunging so deep.
Oh, I do like it. You're right.
You know why?
At certain times, it looks like Harrison is inside of his shirt the way that this is set up. Like he's.
Oh my god.
Anyway, hey, Cade.
Okay, well, I was thinking about it earlier because I was talking about on a different podcast with the like the top centers of all time, and I know I know Andy has written about like Tim Duncan being a center, so I think the consensus top centers all time are Hakeem Olajuwon, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Tim Duncan, and then Shaq. So I think Jokic can make himself into that conversation. Like I think that he's
7'6"
Yeah.
I had that too, Cade.
Yeah. I mean, like if you look at his, like Andy was talking about his per possession numbers, they're basically the same as Tim Duncan's in terms of his scoring and rebounding, but his playmaking is way better and his shooting efficiency is way better. His true shooting for his career is like 50 points higher than Tim Duncan's, which is ridiculous. And Duncan was probably known as a better defender. But I mean, I think Jokic. Okay, yeah, he's definitely known as a better defender.
Hot
but
take.
I think Jokic does have another level there, right? Like we talk about him, comparing him to Marc Gasol in terms of their defense, and I think Jokic can probably get to that level. So I think if he does, then he gets into that conversation.
It is upsetting to me how much more prepared the people that come onto the show are than I am. Like they have stats, they know what the P3 is. Like it's crazy. Cade comes in like you know how difficult it would have been for me to formulate that thing that Cade just said, which I didn't even listen to the whole thing. I had to tune out midway through. Like,
Well, Cade, you are ready to climb the steps. This is your second time on the steps, isn't it?
Yeah, I was the first steps contestant.
All right. Well, Andy is here to help you. So, Andy, anytime you know the answer to a question, you can just, hey, buddy, I got you. You're like the phone a friend. Without further ado, though.
Oh gosh.
Number 1.
Oh, Cade, please.
Who led the Denver Nuggets in triple doubles this season?
Oh, jeez.
Nikola Jokic.
It's a tough one. You say Yoke?
Nikola Jokic.
All right, you're correct. Good job. Number 2, Andy didn't know that one, so it's a good thing you knew that one. Number 2, name all of the centers on the Denver Nuggets roster. I love this because who made
define center?
Somebody made this question and they did not have all 4. So I just stated the answer.
Do we include two-way guys?
Yes.
Okay, so we have Jokic, we have Mason Plumlee, Bull, and Noah Vonleh.
Well done. Good job.
I kind of forgot about Noah Vonleh.
I mean, raise your hand. Vonleh could be a power forward.
Raise your hand if you were happy that you weren't being asked that question.
Question number 3. Which player told the Nuggets to have a nice summer after the playoff?
Nurkic.
Yeah, I don't know why. Who put that question in there?
Unbelievable.
All right, so actually how these games work are the early questions are supposed to be easy. And then
Number 4, what place did Nikola Jokic get in MVP voting last season?
We're on question number 4, so it is number 4.
I knew I said that would happen. I said that would happen.
He should have been third.
He answered that with some flair.
All right, the 5th question, then this one gets you a sticker pack. What former Nuggets player also won a FIBA gold medal playing alongside Mason Plumlee in 2014? Former Nuggets player.
Former Nuggets player who won in 2014.
Wow.
Okay, and then they get hard. They just go.
It's just they fall off a cliff.
Oh, crap.
Was he on the Nuggets at the time?
Yes.
Okay, so he was on the Nuggets in 14, and he won a FIBA gold medal with Mason Plumlee. God.
Where's your confidence now, Cade? Come in with your facts.
It carried me through 4 questions. Man, I have some guys in my head.
How about Kenneth Faried?
Okay, yeah, that is Kenneth Faried. Yeah.
Final answer?
That's final answer.
A very funny.
Correct. You got
it. Very funny inclusion.
All right, so now you can take your sticker pack. We can keep it going for a T-shirt.
Let's go. Let's keep going.
Let's do it.
You're playing with found stickers right now, anyway.
All right, number 6. Which team did Nuggets trade Wilson Chandler to in 2008?
We traded Wilson Chandler to the Brooklyn Nets.
No.
I knew it. I knew they would think it was Brooklyn. I knew it.
Had a helper.
He
I
was
was
too confident.
shaking my head too.
You didn't know this one either?
It's the Sixers, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was 76ers. Sorry, Cade. Man, nobody. I thought Cade was going to get this one. I'm a little.
I
I'm
like, the tone you say that with, like, sorry, Cade. I'm glad that you fell into the trap that I created for you.
I knew someone would think it was Brooklyn. Wait, did he get traded to Brooklyn from Philly?
No, I think he just signed in Brooklyn.
Signed
Just
there?
fine, yeah.
well, the steps are hard. The steps are hard. Steps are difficult.
What do you want from me? Hey, what do you want? It's a hard world. It's a cold world. We live in.
Next week, though. Next week, there's going to be new prizes to the stats. A nice little tease, isn't it? New prizes. Keep your eyes peeled.
I didn't even know about this.
They're just at home like, will there be new questions or
Same
is
question.
this is some horse shit?
You're forgot.
Again, I forgot I'm the host. That's right. No, this was fun. Thanks for letting me host, Adam. Andy, thanks so much for coming on and hanging out and setting the bar, honestly, almost too high. We now have to catch up to you with our Jokic love. Wind, great job, Eric.
Yeah,
it's been worse for sure. Everyone else, thanks so much for hanging. A short show tomorrow at noon, so come hang out, play some games. Should be a lot of fun. Stay safe, stay sane, friends. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
See you guys.